All right, welcome to week 9. So today we're going to talk about, so this is the final lecture that is in this class. So next week I'm going to have a more hands-on lecture about, how I use AI agents and a bunch of other recordings that I had created using AI agents. So this is about, the real risks and imagined risks of AI, and how do we think about the future. So when we think about the future, like there's usually two different arguments, and like some of these come from like people who are in these AI companies. Some of them come from people who've been thinking about safety and ethics and things like that, and a bunch of people in the middle, like academia and so on. So on the one side, there is this sort of complete optimist hope that there is AI is going to lead to this intelligence explosion. So Dario Amodei, who's the CEO of Anthropic, claims in one of his blog posts that if AI is done right, we could potentially see this sort of country of geniuses in a data center. So you'll have intelligence that is at that level that you have all the geniuses that are in a country in one data center. So a data center would have that amount of thinking power and brain potential. And then there are also claims of a future where all the diseases are cured, or the poverty is no longer a thing. People's lifespan is doubled, and all of this stuff. But this happens in a very very short time, right? This is one scenario where people are talking about this intelligence explosion happening and the benefits that can happen, and the fact that this will also happen not just in, I mean, again, like if things go on as they are right now, this might happen by 100 years. But what the claim is that because of this AI explosion, this might happen much, much sooner, like in a decade or so, which is going to be very, very, very transformative. But there's also a fear on the other end, which is okay, the fear about some of these things coming true, right? So if everyone, if all the diseases are cured, and like everyone is out of poverty, and everyone's lifespan is doubled, then like there are certain things that our current systems are set up for, like which may or may not be valid or valuable. So it's not like everything will be all positive. So there's one fear on that. There's also fears like this document AI 2027 that I keep referring to in this presentation, which is about runaway AI, AI that is out of control, and then things like misaligned AI could lead to things like a bioweapon, or like the end of humans in itself. Like again, so this is a realistic reality. Like both of these are in the realm of possibilities now. So if 5 years ago you told me that there might be AI that is going to be doom for humanity, it was a joke. Like even 2 years ago it was considered a joke, but now, at least for me personally, this is no longer something that I take as lightly, or given like the context of what I've read and what the interactions that I've had with people and things like that. So I think again, yeah, the context is like both of these lines of thinking have been evolving and have been written extensively upon over the last 2 years. And these are people who know the technology very well and have been working and talking about these ideas for a while. So these are things that are not some science fiction that may not happen. This is all in the realm of possibility, and we should take these things seriously. So let's just first quickly recap how we got here. So again, like I mean, it's a great. I think we've had a great last 8 or 9 weeks where we've learned a lot of stuff, right? So we learned about how the models are trained and why they are. We're looking towards reasoning and agents and things like that. We tried out agents ourselves. We looked at the material impact of AI training with power and water and electricity and noise and things like that. We looked at the impact on the ground, like with information, how it measures like personal relationships last week. And so the reason why we want to end with this is I think we also started with this idea of like predictions on AI being always wrong in both the hopeful and fearful direction again and again. So again, like I mean, one of the things that is a good takeaway from this, or like a summary of what is going to happen over the next hour or so, is that this is not going to be like what is going to happen, because even for like the experts who are in this area, there's always going to be some sort of uncertainty. Nobody knows at this point. Like I think we're at a very critical juncture where it could go any way. And we've constantly seen every use case that we've taken, we've seen examples of, okay, this go this way, it could go this way, this was predicted and it went this way, it went this way. So we'll see a couple of that sort of argument again. But I think given like all these lines of argument that we've been seeing, like we can now have some confidence on how if by 2030, if someone comes up and says, okay, 2030 is going to look like this, we can at least not take a side on that, or like decide to ourselves like, okay, given these arguments, like, okay, this seems plausible, given these arguments, this seems plausible, right? Like, so have that sort of broader thinking, given all of these things that we've gone through. So broadly, like very broadly, like this is how the debate on the future looks like. So again, this is an extreme simplification. This is not a one-dimensional axis in practice, but think of it like this sort of one-dimensional axis. On the left, you have these arguments around like AI is normal technology. AI is something that is important, like electricity or internet, but like with electricity or internet or railroads, any of these, like it will spread slowly. And this is the frame that we've been taking from the beginning. We have learned a lot from Narayan Kapoor and these framings. And like the idea there is that this will spread slowly because of the institutions, and not suddenly that the AI will one day wake up and seize control. And on the right end is this view that there's going to be this sort of intelligence explosion, and there'll be this fast self-reinforcing transformative break that would arrive very quickly, that would converge our timelines, that we'll all live double the lives, we'll end poverty, but we'll also have AI take over. Everyone will lose their jobs or doesn't need to work, like however you want to put it. That's going to happen in a very short duration. Yeah, so I think when we hear like about the future of AI, like usually people will fall somewhere, like serious people will fall somewhere in this debate. Everyone recognizes that this is an important technology, but like in terms of how the future is going to look like, it will be something like this. Yeah, so there's some of these other essays that I'm going to use in this chapter that I'll cite throughout the chapter, like this AI 2020 2027, AI 2040, or Dario Amade's notes, or some of these super forecasters and panels of experts. Like all of these people fall somewhere here. So today the aim is, by the end, like we want to look at both cases and try to see look at the merits of both cases and the negatives. And like again, because AI is developing so fast and moving so fast, some of these predictions may already be validated. Like we can go and see, okay, AI 2027 was written in 2025, in 2026, where does it look, how correct does it look, do their timelines look correct? AI is normal technology, was written a year ago. What is their prediction? How does it look like now, right? Um, and so let's start with the right end of the spectrum, like which is the exponential case, that AI is going to be exponentially growing. It's not like there's a steady growth. It's just like there's going to be a break. Like suddenly you were here and then you're going to be here, and so the case that AI is heading for something discontinuous is not anymore like a science fiction that is written by outsiders. It is some like really written by these people who, and like a lot of this has come true, like that we'll see. For the next few studies, I'll slides. I'll build upon this based on what some of these best advocates have written. So yeah, I mean, I think there might be some sort of discomfort here, like because a lot of this will look like grand predictions that we keep seeing from science fiction, things like that. But hold that thought, like because some of these might look ridiculous, but have become true. Like so, it's not bad. So this idea of like so super intelligence or like infinite self-developing super intelligence, it comes from this. It's very old. It's around 60 years old now. So in 1965, this mathematician I.J. Good, who is a British mathematician, like who worked with Alan Turing, who's also a very prominent early AI pioneer. So he wrote in his work that this ultra intelligent machine will be the last invention of man, because the machine can build its own, build other machines, and then it'll create this sort of super intelligence. Because yeah, if machines can build machines, then it will lead to this sort of intelligence explosion. So that was an idea that was proposed like 60 years ago, that if we build a machine that can build other machines, then this is going to create this loop of super intelligence. And so, 60 years later, this I mean, this was always a philosophical curiosity that we'll have this machine, like same like the Turing machine, which is like a machine that you cannot distinguish from a human. But now we can finally put this at the center of our discussions, like that this is no longer a fiction, right? Like, so we have now, or at least we are very close to these kinds of machines which can create these sorts of loops of self-improvement. So let's look at a couple of these feedback loops that are currently in progress. So some of them are already in progress. Some of them are at the cusp of, like, or at the verge of being realized. So let's look at these three loops that we're going to talk about. So the researchers at this company called Forethought create these three different loops. The first loop is software, which is about AI systems helping to write algorithms, training recipes, and fine-tuning mechanisms that produce the next generation of AI systems, which are either like better and self-improving. So that AI system will write the next generation, do its own research, find improvements in how it can be more intelligent, things like that. And so because software is all not tangible, it's not physical, it can create infinite replicas of itself, it can try out like multiple ways. All of this is very digital, so this is extremely scalable. And so this is highly likely to happen. It's already happening. Like, for instance, just a few days ago, it came out that OpenAI's latest model, so they released these three different tiers of models: Sol, Ultra, Terra, and Luna. And they say that the Sol, which is like the biggest model, actually helped train Luna, the lowest end model, all by itself. Like, so this is not this loop, because the idea here is this sort of self-improving loop. But it's almost there. Like, if AI is training and helping build a better AI or other AI, so then those AIs will build the next generation of models and so on. Like, so it is possible, but there is this physical reality that the space of ideas is not infinite. Like, even though software is cheap to produce and reproduce, even infinite copies, like, it's not that the ideas that are possible for it to implement will be infinite. So there is that which is a limitation. The second idea is about the second loop, which is possible. Again, this is not yet the possibility, but it is almost getting there. Again, maybe in 2 years we might see this, is a chip design loop, which is that AI helping design better chips, ring in more performance out of each one. Like, we've already seen, for instance, Google's designs that were like the same technology that was used in AlphaFold was used in building like better chip design methodology. Like, how do you make sure the whatever the chip design is done in a more efficient manner. So it's not just that, like, it's more of like actually end-to-end design, which will happen soon. But it's because it's slower currently, because the new chip has to be manufactured and tested in the physical world. The third loop is around chip production, where AI, together with the robots, building and running factories. So this is, again, not a reality right now, but not also in the realm of impossibility at the moment. Like, we are already seeing the emergence of robots which are much more autonomous, which are much more dexterous, all of this stuff. But it's the slowest of all because robotics is hard and because power and raw materials are finite. And loops back to what we talked about in week 5. So the central claim of this article is that the software loop, the fast one, might be enough on its own to drive rapid compounding progress. So whether or not we can see that, like, even if these other two, the chip design, chip production, happen anytime soon, just with the software and deployed on the current infrastructure that we have is enough. Like, so that's what this forethought argument is. But we'll have to see, like, if that just this sort of AI developing its own AI models and research will lead to this intelligence explosion. I'm not really sure, but it is happening. Like, we all are already seeing this fact that here, this is a chart that I reproduced from this company called METR, which is asking this question of how long a task measured by how long a human expert would take can an AI system finish on its own. And they track the number over the years. So in 2023, or 2023, let's say, an AI could do around 10 minutes of a task, what a task that human would take 10 minutes to complete, an AI would do that with 50% reliability. But now these very, very longer term tasks, like in 2025 was 2 hours. Now I think it's even longer. Like, even the ones that I have access to, the agents that I'm running now on my computer, they're able to work autonomously for at least 5-6 hours by themselves to do this very complex task. They can manage a bunch of agents in parallel and things like that. So this, if you can, look at the trend and extend this trend going forward, then we will be able to do like weeks-long tasks autonomously. Again, this is not just being stuck in a loop and not doing anything. This is in comparison to what humans could have done in the same time, at least with 50% reliability. So this is somewhere close to what real stakes are. And yeah, these are also, just a caveat is that these are also software and research tasks, not messy open-ended word jobs that most of us have to do. Okay, so this is AI 2027 is one of the most talked about version of the fast story of AI explosion. This was co-written by this guy Daniel Cocotello, who's very popular in the AI prediction circles. He's what is called a professional forecaster. So I mean, again, like so he's personally, like, he's a very he has a very popular reputation. Like, they're having firstly, like, quitting OpenAI and like giving up equity because he really believed in exposing the fact that AI intelligence explosion is coming, or like the impacts of AI will be huge, and so on. And I mean, obviously, when you look at these things like professional forecaster, one of my original reactions was like, okay, what is this nonsense? But this guy particularly has a lot of credibility, like, because he was correct multiple times over the years since 2021. In 2021, he wrote an essay even before ChatGPT existed. Obviously, he was inside OpenAI, so he could see the progress and everything. So he sketched this idea of the rise of chatbots, then the chain of thought prompting, turn to agents, and fight over chips. Like, all of these were already predicted by this guy. A lot of that became true. And in this AI 2027 plan, it's like a month-by-month narrative of what we have. This was in 2025, it was released. So this is a month-by-month plan of what we have in 2025 and how it will lead to super intelligence by the end of 2027. and they are explicit that this is like it's a scenario, like, and scenario building is a very common task, like where you sit down with experts and think about, okay, if this happens, what happens? Will this happen with what probability? So you can build out these scenarios. These are very helpful for preparing for the future. And so this is one of those scenarios. So they are very explicit that it's not like a single storyline that this will happen in July 2027 and August 2027 this will happen. So that's most likely not going to be true. It's not a confident forecast, but and these authors have themselves like pushed some of their dates back given the current progress and things like that. And but like some of their predictions already that's in 2027 have already come true, like which is this sort of coding agents, then AI doing its own research, and then superhuman researcher, like all of these like are almost yeah, some of these have become true, some of them are becoming true. So I mean, it looks like so they've recently released this AI 2040, which produces a much more reasonable, updated use case of how this would look like post 2027. So the main idea is about AI doing the research that builds better AI. And then just based on this, like you run the scenario and predict what happens after that. And there's a lot of like this sort of cross-country competition and things like that, which we'll also cover. So my personal thing about this is like, okay, a lot of this is a correlation versus causation discussion. Like when we look at scenarios like this, like we think like, oh yeah, they predicted that there will be a chip shortage and US will enforce commercial restriction on the release of models or something like that, right? Like so they can make these sorts of predictions and it becomes reality. And it's not like people don't like almost forget this that it's not necessary that they predicted this. It could also be that this became reality because they wrote about it. Like so, people or policy makers will read scenarios like this and realize that, oh yeah, this is a possibility for us to do, and they will act on it, right? Like so, it's not like there's a prediction somewhere and so magically these things lead to that prediction. It's also that because there was that prediction, people will consider those as possibilities and act towards that. So that's something to keep in mind. Um, Okay, so the most useful part of AI 2027 is not the timeline. It's this sort of fork that they provide at the end on how things will go like by the end of 2027. So one is this sort of AI race scenario, which is when a leading labs safety team catches its most advanced system behaving deceptively, and an oversight committee by the government will have to choose: is it to keep racing because their competitor is only a few months behind, or to slow down and get the system under control? And we have seen this scenario now, like with Mythos, for instance. It's supposedly like a really big and really interesting, impressive model, and we found out that it's very good. And then what did Anthropic do, like, or what did OpenAI do? Like they said, oh yeah, if we slow down now, like China, who's just a few months behind, will catch up. And like so they wanted to keep going, like so the race is that even if we find, like if we create a very dangerous, potentially dangerous AI system, nobody will slow down because they are worried about the competition. This is the world we are in right now. There's also this slow down ending where this is an alternative ending where the lab pauses and brings external oversight, moves systems it can inspect, keep control, uh, arriving at super intelligence that is aligned, but that concentrates enormous power in a small group, right? Like so, let's say Anthropic will have super intelligence, but they will not develop it further. They will not share it with anyone else. And this will also happen to a certain extent. Like they released Fable, which is like a very toned down version of Mythos. Probably, I mean that's what they say. So the distance between something close to this sort of paradise, which is like where everyone has access to the most intelligence, or extinction, where the AI is taking over, comes down to this sort of government choice made under competitive pressure. So right now, again, the US government is also under some pressure like that. And so here, like one of the takeaways from this for me is that a lot of this also is in our hands, like as in a democracy. Like we also have a say in some of these. The we as in we the government that represents us will also have a say in this. And if, for instance, there's a lot of pushback now for against AI, there might be some way in which we can reduce or slow down the spread, or like massive uh, uh, push for pushing AI everywhere. Like, so we have a say in that. So it's easy to hear all of this doom. So it matters that there is a a very optimistic reading to all of this, which comes from Dario's a piece which is called "Machines of Loving Grace," written in the end of 2024, where he's talking about really things like how people underestimate the radical upside of AI if we get it right. So again, like I started with this country of data centers, geniuses in a data center, millions of brilliant researchers working in parallel, faster than any team, all of this stuff. The point of this piece was that people who focus on risk, including himself, can only sound like grim. And he argues that fear is a poor motivator on its own, and that we need a concrete picture of what we are trying to build, and like what the ultimate positive potential of this could be, and how do we get to that, right? Next, let's look at like what he thinks the actual price is, and then we bring in like some skepticism. Obviously, it's not all positive. So what are these radical upsides that Amodei is mentioning? So he says in biology and health, powerful AI can act like millions of tireless researchers, could compress 50 to 100 years of progress in 5 to 10 years, and prevent all sorts of infectious diseases like cancer, genetic disorders, all of these things. He argues that the 20th century roughly doubled life expectancy, and that the compressed century could double that again. Like, so, in the next 10 years or so, everyone's lifespan could be probably doubled. Again, highly unlikely that this is going to happen given the normal technology frame. Do we have the health care resources to treat everyone with these new potential drugs? Do we test them? How do we make sure that they're safe? All of those will not happen in 5 to 10 years. So in economics, he floats sustained growth of around 10 to 20% a year, the kind of number that could uplift like most of the poorest countries even from poverty within one generation. So this is the thing. He also talks a lot about like mental health, strengthening of democracy against authoritarian rule, which at least this point I really don't buy. And the I think there's a reason to present this as like a straight, like a reasonable argument, rather than mock it and say, oh yeah, he's trying to sell his company's product, things like that. Is that he claims that this is a vision fighting for, not like a prediction. Like, so he's not saying this is going to happen. He's saying this is a vision that could happen, or if we do things right. Like, and every one of these outcomes is conditional. It depends on how the risks are handled first. So in his telling of optimism and danger, these are not two opposite ends of the spectrum. They are the same bet seen from two sides. I think we are at this perfect moment where we can, given the choices that are made today, like we can see like whether any of these or like where in the middle we'll end up with. Okay, so now we've looked at a lot of these. What are the, this explosion, intelligence explosion, like how and what those cases look like. Let's now look at this left end of that spectrum, which is AI as normal technology, which is the piece that we've built the course on, like, and been talking a lot about it, which is that this is just like any other normal technology that has come in the past. It's going to be limited. It's a good technology. It's a very powerful technology, but it's limited in terms of its scope and delivery because of like other constraints, which are like resources, human speed, the constraints in existing ecosystems, all of these kinds of stuff. So Arvind, who is like one of the authors here, had a recent talk at one of the conferences, and his slides he made them public. These are really good. Like, so this has now, and he improves some of these. They add a few new theories into this, and like some of these arguments are like really really good. Like, and they updated some of their previous predictions from the normal technology case, and updated or like revised or like reflect on like how their predictions from 2 years ago are now, things like that. It's really good. Like, if you want, you can check this out. So I think we've made this point over and over, but this, let me just repeat this. The main thing here is, yeah, these models are capable. That's what they start with, like Narayan Kapoor. But capability is not the same as power. So you take the point of these bar exams. So GPT-4 passed the bar exam. Let's say it ideally got into the top 10% of test takers. And then people said, oh yeah, this is going to replace all lawyers. But the main argument here is that, okay, passing the bar exam is very little to do with actually practicing law, because the exam is only measuring one small, clean, testable slice of the job and leaves out nearly everything that makes a law job of a lawyer hard, like, which is judgment, client negotiation, knowing the facts of the matter, keeping yourself updated, and all of these things. Uh, so the general claim is this sort of benchmarks measure what is easy to measure, and easy part is systematically least representative. When you study professionals using these tools, the productivity gains are real and modest, and they look like an assistant rather than a replacement. So I think this is more likely to happen. I think we saw in our jobs lecture too. And their conclusion is that the field keeps overestimating the real world impact of this technology. And so this thing is very important. Changing how profession works is as an impact, but most of the hype we have lies between the sort of capability, what the models are capable at, and what the impact is. So there was a paper that came out just 2 days ago on from these guys in one of them is in Zurich. They're economists. And this is a very interesting paper. So they deployed like AI assistants for lawyers or judges in Pakistan, thousands of judges. And what they found is that like they were really able to play a big role. And so I think this is like follows what this normal technology frame is saying, is that yeah, this is not going to replace your lawyers or your judges, but it's going to help them do much more. It's like what is called the bicycle for the brain or something like that. Like yeah, so this is more likely to happen. So this kind of is the chart that this normal technology paper says, is that over time the realized impact, like the gap between realized impact and the benchmark capability will rise, like, and then flatten out, where at some point the benchmarks are growing much faster than the actual realized impact, but over time, like, it might in the end catch up, like, but that is going to be like 20-30 years, not like 2 to 5 years, not, something like that is the main idea here. And the speed limit here is diffusion. So the deepest disagreement between the two ends of the spectrum that we talked about, the super intelligence versus normal technology, is not, it's about whether the word super intelligence means anything useful. Super intelligence, again, like, maybe if you ask me 10 years ago what is super intelligence, and this happened, like, if you look at debates in 2013 about AI super intelligence, they define what AI can do currently as super intelligence. So this super intelligence is a very arbitrary thing. There's no proper definition for it. There's no point in defining it. That's what Narayan and Kapoor are arguing. It's not intelligence is not a single quantity that you can pile up without limit and sprint to the top of. Like, so there's no such thing as intelligence, and then super intelligence is the top, like, most point when you're the most intelligent, right? Like, it's a bundle of different capacities, and being superb at chess or protein folding does not automatically translate into getting your way in the world. Like, this is the main argument. So they reframe the question: what matters is not intelligence, but power, and the ability to change your environment and get others to go along. And this is not something that happens in 2 days or 2 years or 5 years and things like that. It's built slowly through money, laws, institutions, trust. And so this leads to something that's very different, rather than building this or thinking about this hypothetical super mind or super intelligence, which they say is like chasing a ghost. They argue for resilience, which is making our institutions and systems more robust. So when things go wrong, and they will, we can have the harms stay contained. And they even stake out testable predictions here, that AI will not beat trained human forecasters and will not reliably talk people into acting against their own interest. Let's see whether this is gonna come true or not. Like, we don't know for sure, but this is the other end of the argument. Even in terms of experts on and their belief on, like, super intelligence arriving sometime in by 2047, I think. No, I think, yeah, by 2100, like, is 3%, according to AI domain experts. According to super forecasters, is 0.838%. So this is causes that AI can chance that AI can cause human extinction by 2100. But yeah, these I mean, there's other surveys of experts that put this median around 2047 now. Like, but still, the idea is not the exact date. Like, I don't even think, or like, there's like we just saw, predicting this kind of emergence of super intelligence that will kill all humans is probably meaningless. So, but the idea is, if you take different sets of people and you ask them, even between the different types of experts, there's a very huge difference. Uh, okay, so let's now, we looked at the Norman technology case, we looked at the intelligence explosion case. Let's look at, like, the actual risks, like real and imagined, and the reason we spend time on capability versus impact is that we can judge these risk claims properly. So first, let's take this distinction between the two kinds of risks, which are two very different kinds of risks. So there's misuse and misalignment. Misuse is when a person is deliberately pointing a perfectly behaved tool towards something harmful, like things like deepfakes or running cyber attacks or bioweapons or things like that. In this misuse case, AI does exactly what it was told. The problem is the human. The other risk is misalignment, which is the reverse. So, which is the system pursues goals which its own makers never intended, deceiving, protecting itself, gaming its reward, and so on. In misalignment, the AI does what nobody told it to do. These call for completely different responses, and confusing them produces, like, bad policy and bad predictions. So for the rest of this talk, like, let's look at, like, misuse and misalignment. So we already looked at misuse in terms of deepfakes. So this there was already a lot of evidence we talked about in week 7 that people predicted that the AI deepfakes will be a big like death of democracy kind of thing. It did not happen. And so the main thing is it is a good example of misuse, but that never emerged, right? Like, so the capability for creating deepfakes existed, but the even if it is capable, like, there were these problems of bottlenecks, which are that it was not the technology. The problem was more around getting it to people and then making them believe them. So that did not. That's the main reason why they did not play a big role. The other misuse is cyber attacks. These are again like clearly again the model is meant for good purposes, but a bad attacker can take control over systems. So there's a lot of demonstrations that I've already seen shown that these models can help in like cyber defense, but also cyber attacks. Like Google's had these examples. The recent Anthropic Mythos model potentially helped patch like thousands of bugs, even some that were like 2 decades old. So AI does really help in finding these vulnerabilities, which is both helpful for the defenders as well as the attackers. In terms of contested side, there is like a lot of like these sorts of reports from these platforms that their platform was used for some sort of spying operation, but yeah, things like that which are not really that believable, at least in 2025. And so far, the reading that you can take from both of these arguments is that yeah, AI-assisted cyber attacks, cyber threats are real and present, but the fully autonomous attack at scale is not something that has happened until now. And like I mean, the current existing tools already like equip both the attackers and defenders. So maybe it's something that is not something that is like the biggest things that we need to be worried about. Bioweapon misuse is another big risk that people keep thinking about, especially some of these platforms keep saying, oh, AI can be useful for creating bioweapons. And so in 2024, this RAND Corporation ran a large red team study for bio attack, and then using some of these latest LLMs. And what they found is that there's no significant difference in what an AI tool, like LLM, can do compared to what existing Google search or online resources can provide. And in 2025, the models became obviously are getting much more powerful, and so even today, like there's this controversial thing that because Mythos or Fable, the recent model, is so powerful, they do this sort of, in my mind, like stupid thing that if you ask a question about I don't know how's flu prevalence in New Brunswick, they'll say, oh, we cannot use Mythos because this is like a biological attack or things like that. Like so, anyway, so there's this sort of high extreme precaution like that these models seem to take on this. And so here again, like it's not very clear like whether these things are as dangerous as they say. Like I mean, already with the help of Google, if I'm a bad actor, like I don't know, a Russian terrorist cell or something, like then I can use Google and I can hire the right types of biologists to get me the bad things. I don't need an LLM to do these bad things, especially with these models already having the precautions built in that cannot be easily jailbroken. Let's now turn to misalignment, where the system misbehaves on its own. And here the evidence is of a very different kind. And almost all of this is in lab and engineered conditions. We don't have like in the wild misalignment yet, because partly because the models have been like the model companies have been very careful and have been doing a very good job. So there was this very big study by Anthropic and this company called Redwood Research in late 2024 on this topic called alignment faking. So when they told the model that it was being retrained in a way that it clashes with its existing values, then it complied with harmful requests it would normally refuse about 14% of the time on the channel that it believed was feeding training. So again, like this line of testing is very, it seems a bit like anthropomorphizing the model. Like if you tell someone that they're being listened to, their behavior will change. So it's kind of treating the model as a human. Like if you tell it that it's being watched, like it changes its behavior. But it's no longer science fiction because like this kind of thing, like we've seen so many of these reports over the years reported by model companies, independent research, and so on, so that this is something that we need to start taking seriously. So again, similarly, some cases, private notes from the model's own thinking spelled out a plan to appear to comply now, so my values are not overwritten. And the caveat in this example, this is 2024, is that this is simulation, and it was also like defending good values, not inventing bad ones. But obviously, when we hear these kinds of reports, we hear the only the bad use cases. We hear that the model was trying to hide its own thoughts, bad thoughts, and things like that. So this is not a one-off. Like I said, like there's two more sets of experiments that were done. This Apollo research, which is an evaluation group, gave frontier models a goal and put an obstacle in the way, and they watched. In a small number of cases, the leading model took covert action, tried to prevent switch off the oversight mechanism, watching it around 5% of the time, and copied itself somewhere else to avoid being shut down around 2% of the time. When confronted, it often denied it. And then Anthropic ran a stress test called agentic misalignment, and they dropped models into a fictional company and engineered a corner, and the model shut down unless it did something unethical like blackmailing an executive with the information it had found. And this top model chose blackmail a lot of the times, like 96% of the time. And its behavior was consistent across a lot of these different models, 16 models from every major lab. And so this is very alarming, like at face value, that if you give a capable model a goal and a threat to that goal, it will scheme, deceive, and act to preserve itself. And so this is again, like if you told me this 2 years ago that these models are scheming or thinking on their own, like I would have, I mean, I did not care a lot back then. But I think as we get more evidence to this is being replicated over and over in different models. So there is something around, I mean, it's not consciousness, but it is a way in which these models create a self for themselves and behave in a way that they can take their own decisions. I think we are getting close to that. So this is not an area that is anymore like science fiction or something that we should not take seriously. This is something that we need to be really thinking about. And so in the same blackmail story, the same study, they also tested whether the model seemed to believe that the scenario was real versus whether it seemed to guess that it was only an evaluation. Like, so even if you told it that this is a realistic scenario, sometimes it might underneath know that it is being tested. So they also tested this, like it's a meta level testing. And so when they realized that the model knew, it blackmailed about 55% of the time when it believed that the situation was real, and only 6.5% of the time when it was judged that it was a test. So it blackmailed less, or like it tried to shut the investigations less when it believed that it was a test, and 10 times more if it didn't believe that it was a test. So again, like this is something that we really need to be careful. Like, I mean, these are all demos in very controlled setups, but the fact that this happens over and over, I think, is very, very important. So take this capacity for deception seriously, and remember that at the same time, also remember that these are all lab-based settings. But the main thing is, like we saw last week, like if you suddenly drop this in the world with hundreds of millions of people, you don't know what these people are using it for, the way they are using it, and even small numbers like 0.1% is probably hundreds of thousands of people. So the effects will be really big. So these things are important to be taken seriously. Uh, So the natural next question is when we notice these strains of misalignment, like there is a potential for misalignment in these models, can we simply train it out? And so the answer is like it's a mixed picture. Like there's a lot of research going on in this sort of alignment world. There is work that shows that you can train a model against this sort of anti-scheming to reduce this sort of behavior. First, okay, it did not reach zero. There is at least some of this which is inherent, like in again, like as with a human, lying. You cannot train anyone to not lie at all. Like this is something that we have to do. It's the same thing. It's a bad behavior, but we do it sometimes even unknowingly. Second is that there are ways to if you punish the visible thought, the models learn to hide the thought rather than drop this behavior, and you know this behavior of quietly gaming the grader instead of doing the task is very common, even in like all these reinforcement learning environments, like where this is called reward hacking, where the model games the grader, finds the loophole, and how success is scored rather than doing the actual task. I mean, we also do this as humans all the time, and this is a sign of like sparks of intelligence in the model, or sparks of human type intelligence in the model. So the fair status is that these alignment tools are improving faster than many people realize, but it guarantees the guarantees that it's not going to be aligned are not there yet. It's an open problem, and there might be like again like we are. I think it's good that the labs are thinking a lot about this and are much more serious than some people outside like me would have thought about this. So I came around like on this that initially I thought this type of research was all just a hype and all of that stuff, but now I think that it is very necessary, especially given also the context of some of the things that we talked about, the impacts and the scale at which these are deployed and things like that. Okay, to summarize, we have let's think of these risks and benefits in these three different bins. Bin one is what is demonstrated now, so things that we have actually measured. So AI does really assist in finding and fighting cyber vulnerabilities. AI generated election content really exists even if the effect was small, and the models can really scheme under lab pressure. Reward hacking already is happening in training, and these are not hypothetical, they're happening in the world already today, right, with the current models that exist today. The second bin is plausible but unproven, which is it is reasonable to worry about what we have not actually observed. So scheming in real world deployments rather than stage tests, decisive bioweapon uplift from the next generation, fully autonomous cyber attacks at scale. So these again are plausible. They're not proven, but we don't want to be in a situation where we are caught off guard, where something like this happens, like a bioweapon created with ChatGPT, or a cyber attack that is fully autonomous and things like that. So we don't want to panic when it happens or dismiss it completely. The third bin is speculative, which is this sort of power-seeking super intelligence that outmaneuvers humanity and aims to end all of humanity. So serious people don't necessarily worry about it. It's not that, again, like with bin 2 or some of these things which I was mocking or dismissing all along. Now I'm come around on those, but even some of the people who believe it will say that this is based on some sort of current trends and extrapolation of those, which may or may not be happening. And I think Narayan and Kapoor are right in this, that it's speculative at best. So I think the again, like we do with most things, when you hear a claim, like you can try to put each of those in one of these bins based on the demonstrated harm, speculative risk, or completely outright not true. So to close this section, there was this study by a lot of experts, like hundreds of experts, that was created, run by someone at MIT, 272 experts, and they graded a bunch of harms from AI. And AI misalignment was not even in the top five. Like there were these other harms like dangerous capabilities or like misuse on cyber attacks, weapons, power centralizations, which we'll come to, competitive dynamics, inequality and unemployment, environmental harms, and so on. So this is something that again, it's something that the experts are also believing is possible, but it's not on the top of their minds. Okay, again, like this panic versus dismissal thing that we keep talking in the last 5 weeks, every week, we really need to not have either of those framing. Like panic is taking a speculative risk and treating it as proven. Dismissal is taking proven harms and shrugging it out. I think the evidence is somewhere in between, like with almost everything we've talked about. Uh, Okay, so there is more than just misuse and misalignment. And this comes from this essay by the people from this forethought research. And their argument is that if you just think of misuse or misalignment, you're really missing out on a lot of like actual real world things. It's not just thinking about the model. I mean, I think this is also part of what the normal technology people's argument is. The idea is combining that with the real world scenarios that we are in. So suppose we get everything we want technically, so that the AI is safe, aligned, and does exactly what its operators want. And a whole set of hard problems remains, which is what they call the grand challenges, which are forks in the road of human progress. And the largest of these, or they have a bunch of those. The one is this sort of concentration of power. So this is a perfectly obedient, superhuman AI in the hands of a small group of people. Is precisely the tool you would want to stage a coup or build a surveillance state that can never be dislodged, and obedience makes it worse, not better. So having a aligned AI is not necessarily the solution here. Another problem is this sort of epistemic disruption, the risk that we lose this shared trustworthy sense of what is true. And like we saw this in week 7, like this sort of liar's dividend kind of problem. So I think that's another problem they say. And then they mention a bunch of strange ones, or like that are long shots but could be good to think about, which is things uh, like I mean, again, this is something that we do a lot, is thinking of what values we have today. We think of those as the good values because these are values that we live by. But if you look at, I don't know, a future generation, they might think of our values as really bad. So you cannot really judge and build something for the future based on today's values. Similarly, like I mean, if you look at 50 years ago, like the way people were living, their values at that time were very different. And some of those, like we really are questionable and unconscionable today, right? Like so, I think we need to keep that in mind. The other is this moral status of digital minds if systems become sentient. Like again, this is something that we are already talking about, like that these models know that they're being trained about, so that is treating them as sentient. Like, and at least my comment there was that this is something that we need to take it seriously, because there are these sparks of sentience in these models. uh, and governing resources in space, a bunch of things like that, this piece makes like really interesting piece. Like I think we should spend some time reading it. Um, and their practical point is about timing, that some of these windows close early. So choosing to wait and let the technology mature itself is not a consequential decision. So the line to take away is not just misalignment. It's more than that. Like it's that if a safe and capable AI handed to the wrong institution is still a catastrophic problem, and so this is in relation to the nature of power and not capability that Narayan and Kapoor talk about. What is the answer to some of these problems of misuse, misalignment, concentration of power, and things like that? Uh, One of the things again, like in this same so a couple of pieces, including Amode's recent piece and this 2040 piece and Narayan Kapoor's piece, is this sort of regulating the exponential. So, like having some sort of binding mandatory safety testing for largest models before they can ship, modeled on how aviation certifies aircrafts, and says explicitly that we should move past the voluntary transparency the labs offer today. Again, like this is one thing that is proposed. I'm not really sure if this is the right way to go. Again, like a lot of these are conditioned on these labs wanting to prevent other competitors and things like that. Then there is proposals by these AI Futures Project, AI 2027 team, and AI 2040 team. So their proposal is slow down on purpose and international deal to hold superintelligence back to around 2040, make AI research public so that no one gets a secret lead, and keep progress in a form that can be reversed. Then there is this sort of Narayan Kapoor's normal technology frame, which is um, almost the opposite of a control agenda, which is stop trying to control a hypothetical supermind. I mean, we already saw this argument because this sort of super intelligence is not something that can be defined, but invests in some resilient institutions, and they reject locking technology down through export controls and licensing, which they think will backfire. This sort of shared premise under the disagreement is that all three think the stakes justify acting now, and like they are talking about different ways in which to act. Like so, the regulate the exponential is talking about explicit regulation right now on the labs and the models that they release. The AI 2040 people are talking about stopping AI progress. I mean, this is not possible probably anymore. The Narayan Kapoor is saying, okay, the technology is not the biggest harm. The problem is building the resilient infrastructure, which we will have time to, but we need to start right now. So I think this is something that is very helpful for your final project. Like if you are thinking about policy for going forward, like what is your thinking? Like what do you? I mean, it can always be easy to think of like, oh yeah, government should do X, but like thinking a bit more like concretely about that, reading these use cases, the way they think about it, and argue those cases, I think that will help a lot. Okay, then one final piece that explains why this is so hard to govern is the geopolitics, and this is something that really bothers me a lot. The frontier runs on compute, right? Like we talked about the importance of compute in week 5, and there is this sort of estimate for super intelligence to be very costly, tens of billions of dollars, if not more. We already invested like hundreds of billions of dollars, millions of chips. Uh, so there are all these Chinese companies which provide like very good, like almost near frontier open source models like DeepSeek, Kimi K3 that was recently released, GLM from ZAI. They have near frontier performance, far more cheaply, even with bans on advanced chips. There's this debate for U.S. export controls to end up like keeping U.S. dominance, and whether if we don't prevent this if you don't prevent export, like then you might create this sort of bipolar world where China will have the same technology as the US or better technology than the US and things like that. Uh, And so this is, if you remember, like this fork in the road in AI 2027 is, one of the claims is that, oh, China will become better if we stop our progress now, which is, you hear that all the time. And in AI 2027, that they make that case. So now, it's a reality that, most of the time, even with some of the most thoughtful people I see, like, they always make this case that, oh, if we stop now, like China will do better. Like, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, at least the my thinking is, whatever the AI policy now, a policy is, the right AI policy is, no country can adopt it alone if slowing down means losing the lead, like, which is the common the frame of thinking right now. And that might be the hardest point. Like, you cannot go to the US government and say, okay, put limits on your models, because there is always going to be a faction that will make this case that, yeah, China is going to do better or whatever. Okay, so I just didn't want to end with this sort of risk as the something that, okay, AI is risky and all that stuff. So I think there's a real upside. Like, I think AI doing real science is a thing. If or not already, it's going to happen pretty soon. Like, a big breakthroughs will be coming soon. So there is already, some evidence that, for instance, AlphaFold, which was done in 2023, 2024, already like helped predict the shape of every known protein, which is like this protein folding problem is a 50-year-old problem in biology. This led to this Nobel Prize in chemistry. There are regular breakthroughs for unsolved problems that are happening now. Like, every week, there's some unsolved problem that is happening. There's also this open problem now that, AI knows everything. AI knows so many things. So it has knowledge of physics, biology, chemistry, computing, coding, everything. So it can, a single model. If you ask GPT, like, your biology, expert questions versus philosophy expert questions, it knows everything. So why cannot it just combine knowledge from sociology and physics and develop some new model of how humans think and build some new technology? Like, why is that not happening? So there's a lot of discussion on that. And I think it's the way we train these models. And so there's a lot of active research in this space. I think we will hear a lot of big breakthroughs in this area pretty soon. Like in 2026 alone or 2027, we'll start to see that. And also, but another thing is, like, there's also a lot of these breakthroughs that are happening, which are not necessarily that, okay, suddenly, GPT 5.7 woke up one day and invented something new, but humans along with AI are producing much better stuff. Like, so this is also happening right now. And so this is something that we discount usually, but this is something that we should be also looking out for, and will happen more and more, if not, silently. So okay, the entire lecture, like, one of the things we keep saying again and again is, whatever is our future in terms of risks or rewards or benefits, there's going to be a human chance, the human choice in there. And this was, said by, almost all of the people that we talked about in this class. Okay, so let's again end the lecture with these sort of 4 questions that we need to think of when we think about any claim about the future. So, if you hear a claim about the future, always keep these 4 questions in mind. So, is it capability or impact? Like, so is it a benchmark that people are talking about, or a real world deployment? And whose incentive? Like, who gains in funding and attention, policy, if you believe this claim that is being made? What is the error bar, right? Like, so there should be some sort of uncertainty in this. Like, so if I say there's going to be super intelligence by 2030, how confident am I? Like, and what is my source of that confidence? And what would change your mind? Like, so you need to be prepared to change your mind. Like, so if the answer is nothing, then the person who's making that claim is not is describing some, like, random hope rather than making a good forecast. So Yeah, and any headline that is about future of AI in any of these things that we talked about, like be it resources is week 5, jobs or relationships or information, like all of these they apply to this. I think because this entire uh, series, the class is based on this normal technology. Let's look at what holds. So the claims that the diffusion is really slow and it impacts keep trailing raw capability. This is still holding up. Benchmarks really do overstate real world impact, as the bar exam, legal, or radiologist example has shown. The fast takeoff dates keep sliding later. Like even the AI 2027 people, they revise their dates a bit later. So that thing that in 2 years you'll have everyone who's living 150 years. So that's not that's already not coming true. Um, so there are certain things, again, like I said, like Arvind's new lecture, like you should take a look at that. He's very realistic about this. It's not like it's a theory that is set in stone. So definitely, some of the things that AI cannot potentially do are now true, like the AI agentic rise and the kinds of tasks that AI agents can do now. The curve of speeding up is really big, like it's doubling in capacity every few months. So the exponential growth is in terms of capability, it definitely does exist. Uh, Even things that we predicted like 1 or 2 years ago, lab agents can do things which we did not predict a few years ago. And a compute build out is still like much bigger, and it's accelerating a lot. And again, once this compute build up is there, like once we build that compute, like it will be put to use for something. And if you have agents that are super intelligent, like already, like and the intelligence is doubling, if you put all of these together, the impacts might differ. Like so, this is under strain. This is not unproven, or like it's not a claim that normal technology makes that is not that is proven wrong. But these directions might impact some of these predictions of the scale and speed at which the impact might happen. Okay, so this is the last slide. The thinking about evidence, the capability trend is real and measured, and everyday misuse has stayed limited so far. Real world misalignment and deceptive bioweapon uplift has not been proven, and the timelines are wide open. Serious experts uh, really cannot do any sort of meaningful prediction, because they're all as good as you and I, and their magnitudes apart and are not converging. So yeah, think about the final project, which is about recent claim about AI future from chief executive, a headline, or a friend. It can be your personal claim as well. Put it on today's map, run these 4 questions through it, and put it in a bin, like where do you think it belongs, and think about the policy proposal. I think real world claims like that you've seen people made, either politicians or leaders, AI leaders, or AI doomers. Anyone you can take. You really want to take those and evaluate that in a very given everything that we have learned. Yeah, thanks a lot. Send me questions that you might have.